Hello and welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast, episode 17 of the Tough Cover Podcast with your host, Mark Henry Jr., talking to you on the first ever Monday of NCAA Tournament in the first or second round. For years, we had the tournament on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This year it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So this is a first for all of us. We're rocking on Monday. We're trying to get work done on the side while we're watching Iowa, Oregon at 12:15 or whatever it may be. It's going to be a fun day, even if you have to lie to your boss and tell him that you're working, or even if you have to lie to a client or whatever that may be. We're here for you for picks to make while you're slacking off of your job and watching the March Madness tournament like we all are. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of the Tough Cover Click. Yesterday, we went 4-3. We broke even on the day. We're trying to get into the positive today. Oklahoma State could have brought us big time into the positive, but big time loss to Oregon State. So before we get started, really, please go follow at The Painted Lines on Twitter and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. We go live here every day on the Tough Cover Podcast on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Please go follow me at Mark Henry Jr. _ on Twitter and at Tough Cover Pod on Twitter and Instagram. The Painted Lines is now sponsored by XL Media, and here is a deal brought to you by our sponsors.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover Podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
What a steal. What a deal for you guys, the Painted Lines audience, the TPL Army, to go get started betting if you haven't. If you're not someone who's bet before, you're not someone who's wagered before, especially online, this would be a great way to get started and a great way to get interested in gambling going forward. BetRivers is the best place to do it, and do it with the link in the description so they know that TPL sent you. Shout out to the Painted Line. So let's bring up a couple comments here. Crash said, yo, man, that is a big steal. Hop on it while the deal's hot. A-Ram said, hi, what's up, A-Ram? Happen to have said good morning. What's up, Shane? I promise I'll be back into the NFL draft swing of things, even though I voted for Dives over you. Sorry. Jalen Darden has my heart. I'm sorry, Shane. But so again, keep it locked to the Painted Lines on Twitter. Keep it locked to my Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. _ and keep it locked to at Tough Cover Pod, and you'll be up to date on the deals that we're bringing you from the Painted Lines, from BetRivers, from XL Media, whatever that may be, and I'll keep you updated. Please leave your picks or bracket thoughts, Final Fours, upsets in the comments, and I will let you know my thoughts tomorrow or whenever my next podcast will be. We'll be going through the Painted Lines Tournament Challenge standings, and we'll talk about some of the possible winners, some of the possible outcomes, and who is absolutely stinking it up. So we'll talk through the entire Painted Lines Bracket Challenge on a podcast soon this week. Stay tuned to the Tough Cover Podcast this week because we have an MLB preview coming. Yeah, that's right. I know I've been talking basketball nonstop for the last 2 to 3, 4 weeks, whatever that may be, on this podcast, but I'm a big baseball fan too. I'm a huge baseball diehard, big time Phillies fan, grew up with season tickets. So I absolutely love the Phillies. I absolutely love baseball. Can't wait for the baseball season to start. Can't wait for opening day on April 1st. So I will definitely be talking a lot of baseball this week. I'll be having at Alex Carr MLB, Alex Carr from The Good Fight. He's a writer for the writes about the Phillies, big time prospect guy. He's one of my good friends. He's a great writer. Everyone go check him out and check him out on Twitter at Alex Carr MLB. He's going to be coming on this week, and I think we have some other guests cooking in the works as well. And then please go check out me, Dylan Davis, and Nat McGinty talk to Tyrone Johnson. Tyrone Johnson from 97.5 on Dylan's podcast, The Daily Dose, Thursday at 7:30. Before we get to my picks today, let's do a quick fit check. Rocking with Ja Morant. That'll come in handy later on with our NBA picks. Someone asked, can you also give your NBA picks? I only have one, and I kind of just gave it away. But I have an NBA pick for tonight. I do have one. I had one yesterday. It went 1-0, so trying to keep that streak alive. But like I said, for the fit check, rocking with Ja Morant. He's my favorite point guard in the league. Love watching him. I'll be watching him tonight. And then behind me, I kept it up there because last night was such a lucky win. I feel like any luck I had to contribute to it, I'm going to leave the Sixers jerseys up until the Sixers lose because they've been up the last 2 days. So I'm going to leave it up there. Last night was a crazy win for the Sixers. Don't know if how many of you guys were catching that and watching that, but it felt like we blew the game to even let it to go to overtime, and then it feels like we were lucky to win the game in overtime. So weird game, just an absolutely weird game, but that's what happens when you play the Knicks, I guess. When I went earlier this week, it was also a weird game. Knicks are a weird team, and they play weird basketball. Weird. I said weird way too many times there, but oh well. I think the Sixers take down the Knicks every single time they play them because Ben Simmons is just, it's not allowed for him to lose to the Knicks. 15-0 against the Knicks or whatever it is. It's crazy that we haven't lost to the Knicks yet. It's absolutely fantastic. Do you think Ben and Joel will play today versus the Warriors? I believe that's on Wednesday. I believe they're playing the Warriors on Wednesday. But no, Joel will not play. Hopefully Ben plays. So yeah, I don't think Joel's definitely not playing against Golden State on Wednesday. But let's get to what you're all here for. Let's get to the main event. Let's get to the big money draw. Let's get to my picks for the day. We're starting it out in the round of 32 with LSU +5 versus Michigan for 2 units. That game is at 7:10. This is a game of contrasting styles. LSU wants to push the pace while Michigan plays very slow, and the Tigers are more offensive-minded while the Wolverines are more focused on defense. Everyone told me how the Bonnie, St. Bonaventure, were going to shut LSU and Cam Thomas down with their #1 defense. But Cam Thomas went to the line 13 times and scored 27 points. I've been eyeing this Michigan-LSU matchup as a potential upset since the tourney came out. I've been on LSU all year long, but they're playing their best basketball of the year, and they are grossly underseeded. This is a 4, 5, 6 seed type team based on talent. And I don't think that they've earned that seed in the regular season, but they're definitely underseeded in terms of talent. And that doesn't just hurt LSU. It hurts Michigan, especially without their best guard Livers. A 1 seed here should not be playing LSU as an 8 seed. It's an unfair matchup for the Michigan Wolverines. LSU is not your father's 8 seed. They're a tough, dangerous team. Michigan comes in losing 3 of 5 to teams, all 3 of those to teams that are already booted out of the tournament. LSU comes in 5-1 in the last 6 straight up and 6-0 against the spread in the last 6, with its only outright loss being a 1-point loss against Alabama in the SEC championship game. The Tigers' offense is pure fireworks, averaging 82 points per game while ranking 5th in the nation in offensive efficiency. Overall, LSU has not scored fewer than 75 points in a game since February 3rd, and LSU is 8-3 over that 11-game stretch. When LSU has the ball, Tigers' explosive, lengthy scorers will drive the lane and score a lot on Michigan's smaller-sized guards. Texas Southern's Michael Weathers gave them tremendous film to go off of, having scored 24 points on 8 of 17 shooting in the first round against the Wolverines, who really struggled with Texas Southern. Livers is a huge loss for Michigan, especially defensively, especially against a dynamic offense like LSU. LSU covers +5 and wins the game. I like LSU to take down Michigan, and I know Dylan already knows that because Dylan is a Michigan homer. Michigan, UCLA parlay for me today, plus 118. I'll get to UCLA in a little bit, but Michigan, I do not think they win the game. But you already knew that. I've been hating on them all year. Moving on to another bet in this game. This is a quick one. LSU team total over 71.5 for 2 units. It was my best bet the other night. It hit comfortably after a terrible first 8 minutes. Feels like I have to go back to the well out of loyalty. Like I said above, LSU has not scored below 75 points in the last 11 games since February 3rd. Michigan will not be able to slow LSU down if the Bonnies were not. This could be a very close game, which only helps the over. Close games breed overs, gentlemen. Like I said, Livers was a huge loss for the Wolverines, especially defensively. LSU scored 72 here easily. Moving on to 9 o'clock for ARAM. Can I give my NBA picks? We got an NBA pick right here on the docket for you, buddy. Grizzlies Moneyline versus the Boston Celtics for 1.5 units. The Celtics are playing bad basketball. Any team that loses to the Kings team that I saw roll over in Philadelphia deserves all the criticism they can handle. The Celtics are coming off of a back-to-back. The Grizzlies are rested. The Grizzlies are better at home than on the road. Grizzlies are 19-20 straight up and 21-17-1 against the spread. The Celtics are 21-21 straight up and 18-24 against the spread. I like to bet on teams that are better than their record against the spread. I like to bet on against teams that are worse than their record against the spread. It means that Vegas is undervaluing them or overvaluing them. The Grizzlies are undervalued by Vegas, and the Celtics are, as always, overvalued by Vegas. So I think the Grizzlies are getting a little bit of value here. I think it should be a 3 or 4 point favorite, maybe even a little bit more. The Grizzlies don't take a lot of threes, but really do well on the interior. The Grizzlies struggle with Utah Jazz type teams that have a Gobert or any type of rim protector, like a legitimate defensive player of the year candidate on the inside. Boston absolutely does not have a rim protector, which allows Ja to penetrate and allows the bigs to dominate, which I think makes this a desirable matchup for the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies beat the Celtics. Memphis Grizzlies money line. Let's pull up this comment here. Bucks, Raptors, Minnesota. I don't like Minnesota. I already know that. I didn't touch it, but Thunder +2 was very interesting to me versus Minnesota. Let's look at Toronto. Toronto should win 8.5 against Houston. Houston's going to lose 21 straight. Houston absolutely stinks. Milwaukee -5.5. Why is that line so low? Giannis is out. So, yeah, I wouldn't touch that. I wouldn't touch the Bucks or Minnesota. Maybe just bet the Raptors straight up with the spread. Giannis is out. So, the Bucks, that's why they're only a 5.5 point favorite. So, let's get to my next play here. And this is my best bet, my lock of the night, my play of the day. This is going to be a big one for me for my bracket, for my bets, for just about everything. This is a huge game. This is my biggest game of the day. USC Moneyline versus the Kansas Jayhawks. Anyone who knows me knows that I hate to make this pick. I despise USC. F USC. Fuck the Trojans. Sorry for cursing for anyone out there below the appropriate age to hear that, but I absolutely hate the USC Trojans like I would hate the Boston Celtics or the New York Giants or the New York Mets, whoever it is. I can't stand USC, but game recognized game. If you see me pumping USC up the way I am, you know that it's out of a place of truth. You know that it's I've seen them play, and I think that they're a really good team that can make a deep run with a guy like Evan Mobley. As much as I hate to say it, if I could easily say that USC were a fraud and I'd be betting against them, I would, but it's just not the case. I love USC to make a run to the Sweet 16 or even the Elite Eight. But after watching USC dominate Drake and watching Kansas struggle with a less impressive Eastern Washington squad that had a bunch of John Heater, Napoleon Dynamite lookalikes, I'm even more confident, and it looks like Vegas is too. USC as the 6th seed is a 1 point favorite against 3 seed Kansas. I think the reason for that is how USC looked against Drake. USC held Drake to 56 points on 29% shooting. Andy Enfield, USC's coach, looks for his first Sweet 16 bid since Dunk City FGCU's run in 2013 from Philadelphia. Kansas is not 119th nationally in defensive rebounds and 216th in free throw rate, which will hurt against USC and especially Evan Mobley. USC is 13th in offensive rebounding in the country, so that is a massive, massive advantage for USC over Kansas, just like we talked about yesterday with Arkansas versus Texas Tech, which bared itself out. A lot will be made of USC's inability at the foul line, shooting 64%. But they shoot over 3 more free throws per game than Kansas and still make more free throws per game despite shooting 7% worse from the line. USC catches a hell of a matchup with the Kansas Jayhawks and move on to the Sweet 16 for the first time for USC since 2007. This would be only the third time in the last 60-plus years that they've made the Sweet 16. A lot on the line for USC here. I think USC advances. And let's get to my last pick. Is Iowa Moneyline a good pick? It's a steep pick just because they're a 5-point favorite. I'm staying away from that game. I will be rooting for Iowa for bracket purposes, but I really think that game's an absolute toss-up, especially with Oregon sitting out the first game, or not sitting out. VCU got COVID, so the game was canceled and Oregon was moved on. I don't know how to handicap that. Is Oregon going to come out, fired up? They didn't get a chance to play yet. Are they going to come out rested, or are they going to come out flat because they didn't get a chance to play that first game in the tournament that their opponent did in Iowa? So I really don't know where to go with that game. I really, again, just don't know how to factor in that break for Oregon. And they've also had a bit longer of a break because they lost to Oregon State early in the Pac-12 tournament. So they really haven't played in a long time, Oregon. It's hard for I think Iowa probably wins. Now that I'm talking about it, if I had to guess, I'd say they come out flat, but they could just come out and go up like 20-6. And it's like, oh, they got a ton of energy. I don't know. That's a 12-15 game. I'll be watching it. I'll be rooting for Iowa. But if you want to throw Iowa in a parlay and to boost the parlay, I could totally understand that. Maybe like an Iowa UCLA or Iowa USC or Iowa UCLA parlay. I have seen some Iowa UCLA parlays out there. I know Stuckey from Action Network threw that on Twitter. So he's a good follow as well as someone that I like to check my picks with. So UCLA Alabama Moneyline parlay is my bonus Moneyline parlay at plus 114 for 2 units at 5:15 and at 8:40. For UCLA, I'm very confident that they win this game. I was not impressed by Abilene Christian and have been very impressed with UCLA against Sparty, and especially against a good senior-driven BYU team, which UCLA handled with ease. Abilene got gifted a game by the rest. This should be UCLA Texas and a great matchup, but instead, it's UCLA Abilene Christian, and I expect UCLA to roll. I think the line is way too short for Alabama's purposes. I've loved their offense all year, and I've hated Maryland's offense all year. Maryland looked great against UConn, who played horrible, but I think that's an outlier. Maryland stopped shooting the lights out here, and Alabama handles them, moving on to play UCLA for his trip to the Elite Eight in the Sweet 16. This is the parlay of the same region, so the winners, if this parlay were to hit, would play each other. So UCLA-Bama is what I expect for the next round. So let's talk about a couple of the games that I didn't touch on, that I didn't have a pick on. Let's go to the NBA first. Sacramento at Cleveland. This is a game that I had to lean on right away. I think Cleveland +4 will be my play in that game. Sacramento, I'm just addicted to betting against Sacramento and Houston. But I couldn't pull the trigger because it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. So did not quite pull the trigger, but I do think Cleveland +4 is a hell of a steal there. Like I said, I have the Grizzlies over the Celtics. Like I said before, I'd like the Thunder +2 against the Timberwolves. If I were to make a pick in that game, that would be the pick. Hornets, Spurs. Spurs are favored by 6. That's about fair without LaMelo for the rest of the year. Toronto, we already talked about. Indiana, Milwaukee, we already talked about. Jazz, 8.5-point favorites against Chicago. That's a stay away. 8.5 is about the right number. And same with Hawks, Clippers at -6. I think those are the correct numbers. So let's go to the NCAA basketball slate that I did not discuss. The games that I did not touch on. Oregon, Iowa, like I said, if I were to take a team, it would be Iowa. But I'm staying away. Oklahoma, Gonzaga. Gonzaga's a 14-point favorite. That is just a lot of points. But I think Oklahoma stinks. So I don't even think they deserve to beat Missouri. So I think Gonzaga rolls there. I think they take care of business. But I'm not going to be betting -14 because they could win by 13 and they could blow them out. So I'm not touching that. Ohio versus Creighton. Ohio's +5.5. I would lean hard here on Ohio. I can't pull the trigger for some reason. I have a weird feeling. But if I were to bet that game, it would 100% be Ohio +5.5. But I will be staying away. So moving on to the next game is Colorado and Florida State. I think this is a complete toss-up. Colorado is an absolute wagon. They look great in the first game against Georgetown. That could just be Georgetown stinking it up. Florida State is a team that I had going to the Elite Eight. I love Florida State's team. They did not impress me against a team that I do not consider very good in UNC Greensboro. So I'm rooting full out for Florida State to win this game. But if I wasn't, And if I wasn't a little biased on it, I'd be betting on Colorado plus 1.5, 100%. They looked so good last game, but I'm not going to be jumbling up my rooting interest here. I'm just rooting for Florida State for the bracket. So that wraps up my my thoughts on the games that I didn't touch on. Let's answer this question before we get out of here and get my picks. Crash said, "What made you a fan of Philly?" I'm from the area. I was born in Delaware, and I'm not going to give away my exact location, but I'm from the Philly suburbs. So I grew up right outside Philly. I had a Sunday season ticket plan for the Phillies. We went to a ton of Sixers games. We didn't go to a ton of Eagles games, but that's because my dad thinks that football's better on television, which I agree with. So I haven't missed an Eagles game in, probably since 2005, 2004. So I'm a pretty diehard three for three Philly fan is what I should say. I'm not a Flyers fan. I don't really care about hockey, but I do root for Villanova. I know that they're not considered a Philly school sometimes. I'm just seeing that LeBron James or Anthony Davis will not return for 3 to 4 weeks. So that's interesting, but that's unrelated. Yeah, but again, it wasn't really an option. My dad would have killed me if I wasn't a fan of Philadelphia. Not really, I'm joking, but he's a diehard Philly fan. My mom's a diehard Philly fan, and as am I, and as will my kids be. So Philadelphia sports, they're not exactly the easiest thing to be a fan of, given what we've had to deal with over our time, but it's a community unlike any other, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and happy to be a part of the Painted Lines talking about Philadelphia, because you see how passionate the Philadelphia sports fans are, especially about the Sixers or the Eagles, whatever that is. The Flyers fans are passionate too. They're all so passionate about their teams, and it's great to be a part of that, and I'm just as passionate. So you'll see me arguing with people on Twitter. I was arguing with people on Twitter last night, Knicks fans, that thought they got screwed. So let's go over my bets real quick. My two-way parlay is UCLA, Alabama for plus 114 for 2 units. That's at 5:15 and 8:45. At 7:10, I have LSU plus 5 for 2 units. At 7:10, I also have LSU team total over 71.5 for 2 units. At 9 o'clock, I have the Memphis Grizzlies money line versus the Boston Celtics for 1.5 units. And then my best bet at 9:45, I have USC money line versus Kansas for 4 units. So thanks for joining us, folks. Thanks for being a part of the Tough Cover Click, and enjoy the brackets.